Hey, what's going on? This week, cybersecurity took center stage as massive breaches hit giants like AT&T, Disney, and Ticketmaster, exposing millions of records. Plus, a staggering 10 billion passwords were leaked on the dark web, and it's clear we need to talk about the state of our digital security. Plus, we'll explore why cyber insurance is getting cheaper despite skyrocketing ransomware payments, and share a crucial tip of the week to help you stay safe online. Join me for a deep dive into these pressing issues and more, and what they mean for you. Hey, I'm Mike Kramer, KramerNow.com, and I inform people about cybersecurity without expensive subscriptions by providing the latest cyber news and resources. Make sure you watch to the end because I'm going to tell you later exactly what steps to take to help prevent your account from getting hacked. This week in cyber news, cyber insurance costs dipped to new lows thanks to competition. So some good news for once. Wanted to start the show off on a good note. Insurance costs are about 15 to 17% less than last year for cyber insurance. Now, you probably heard about this huge AT&T breach. Hackers have illegally accessed and downloaded call logs and records of AT&T customers and users of mobile virtual network operators, also known as MVNOs, from a third-party cloud provider. Snowflake, been a familiar name if you've been watching my program, affecting over 100 million customers. While the breach did not expose the contents of calls or texts, supposedly, I've heard mixed things on that, AT&T has taken additional cybersecurity measures and will notify affected customers, emphasizing the need for vigilance against phishing and fraud. Stay tuned for our deep dive to find out more about this massive breach. 10 billion passwords were leaked on the dark web. RockU 2024 released those passwords. It's a reminder to change your passwords frequently and don't use the same, because chances are somebody's gonna get it from a breach. Unfortunately, these days you have to kind of assume it, and so don't use the same passwords for multiple accounts and change them all frequently. How do you keep track of them all? I recommend that you use a password database. Apple has a free passwords in their iPhone and stuff that can sync via iCloud, but is it safe? Yes, it actually uses very strong encryption, 256-bit AES, and is end-to-end encrypted, syncing to iCloud. I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to use this technology to keep yourself safe in the next upcoming tips, so stay tuned for that. There was an Advanced Auto Parts breach. So Advanced Auto Parts experienced a data breach earlier in 2024, affecting over 2 million job applicants and employees with compromised data, including names, social security numbers, driver's license, and government ID numbers. The breach, part of a larger campaign targeting various organizations via, take a wild guess? That's right, compromised Snowflake accounts without multi-factor authentication, and that's led the company to offer 12 months of free identity theft protection and credit monitoring services to those impacted. The breach was caused by an unauthorized third party accessing or copying data from Advanced Auto Parts Snowflake environment. Again, that's like a data warehouse, data lake. This was part of a larger campaign where threat actors using previously stolen credentials obtained through InfoStealer malware compromised multiple organizations' Snowflake accounts that did not have this MFA or multi-factor authentication in place. And a recent huge Ticketmaster breach in May of 2024, the hacker group Shiny Hunters breached Ticketmaster, stealing an astounding 193 million barcodes, including 440,000 for Taylor Swift's concerts, and demanding $8 million in ransom from Live Nation. This breach, which has exposed 560 million records and significantly compromised customer data, is now considered one of the largest non-scrape breaches in history, raising serious concerns about security and customer trust. What is a non-scrape breach, you might ask? So unlike scrape breaches, which typically involve automated tools to extract publicly available information from websites, that's known as scraping, where you're scraping info from the web that anyone can access. As opposed to that, these non-scrape breaches are more focused on direct infiltration and may result in data theft, system compromise, or unauthorized access to sensitive areas of a network. There's an XM mail server vulnerability announced. A critical XM mail server vulnerability exposes millions to malicious attachments. So a critical vulnerability found in the XM mail transfer agent. It's tracked in a CVE, or Common Vulnerability and Exposures. That's CVE 2024-39929, and rated 9.1 out of 10 on the CVSS scale. The CVSS scale is the Common Vulnerability Scoring System. It goes from 0 to 10, with 9.0 to 10 being critical, 7 to 8.9 being high, 4 to 6.9 being medium, and 0.1 to 3.9 being low. And of course, 0 means there is no threat or no vulnerability. But this critical XM mail server vulnerability allows attackers to bypass file name extension blocking and deliver malicious attachments to users' inboxes. Millions of internet accessible XM servers are running vulnerable versions, making it crucial for users to update to version 4.98 to mitigate potential threats. XM is a free mail transfer agent that's used in hosts that are running Unix or Unix-like operating systems. It was first released in 1995 at the University of Cambridge. So a little bit of background there for you. Could be as many as 4.8 million public-facing servers are affected. There was a PHP vulnerability. So a critical vulnerability in PHP tracked as CVE 2024-4577 has been exploited by threat actors to launch attacks such as remote access Trojans, crypto miners, and DDoS attacks shortly after its disclosure. The flaw allows for remote command execution, enabling attackers to compromise web servers and deploy persistent access methods, highlighting the urgent need for immediate patching and robust incident response measures to protect PHP applications. So it's a very common coding language, programming language that's used on the internet as well as many other applications. Next up, we have malware targeting Spanish speakers. So a new malware campaign called Poco Rat is targeting Spanish-speaking individuals in the mining sector, utilizing a remote access Trojan, that's where the rat comes from, delivered via links to 7-zip archives on Google Drive, a free format, how to zip up files using 7-zip. It's predominantly affecting mining. That's 2/3 of the victims. The campaign also impacts manufacturing, about 20%, utilities, about 7%, and hospitality, about 6%, with emails featuring financial themes in Spanish and consistent formatting. GitLab has critical patches. They released updates to fix a critical vulnerability that's CVE 2024-6385 that allows attackers to run pipeline jobs as arbitrary users. With a CVSS score of 9.6 that's critical, affecting several versions prior to the latest releases. This follows previous patches for similar vulnerabilities and comes alongside updates from Citrix and Broadcom addressing critical flaws in their products, emphasizing the ongoing need for robust security measures in software development platforms. CISA, or CISA as some pronounce it, releases an advisory on defense in depth. So CISA has released a cybersecurity advisory detailing key findings from a 2023 Red Team assessment of a federal organization, emphasizing the importance of defense in-depth strategies, which we'll talk about in a future episode. The advisory offers recommendations for enhancing cybersecurity practices, including robust network segmentation and establishing baselines for network traffic and authentication to improve detection and response capabilities. So in a nutshell, defense in depth could be thought of as like a castle analogy where you have a moat and they have to get past that. Then they have to maybe go over a fence and get past that. And then there's, fire or something. They're dumping burning oil on people's heads. I mean, there's different layers that you have to get through to make the attack successful. So it's, in a sense, assuming that one level of defenses is not enough and you're going to have multiple layers. So that's a quick analogy on defense in depth. So there was a Rite Aid breach. So Rite Aid has confirmed a data breach following a June ransomware attack by the Ransom Hub group, which claimed to have stolen over 10 gigabytes of customer information, including names, addresses, and IDs, affecting approximately 45 million lines of data. While Rite Aid is investigating the incident and has restored its systems, the company stated that no health or financial information was compromised, and they are in the process of notifying impacted customers. Also in the big news this week, a Disney breach. So the Walt Disney Company has reportedly suffered a data breach involving 1.1 terabytes of information accessed by the hacktivist group Nullbulge, say that 3 times fast, allegedly compromising its internal Slack platform. So while the specifics of the breach data remain unclear, it could include sensitive content such as unreleased projects and login credentials, and Disney has not yet confirmed the incident or responded to inquiries. Microsoft patches 4 separate zero-day attacks in July Patch Tuesday. If you're not aware, monthly Patch Tuesday is Microsoft's when they release all the patches. It's the second Tuesday of every month at 12 p.m. or 12 noon Central. You might be wondering, what is a zero-day attack? Stay tuned for the Explain This section later in the show. And that brings us to this week's personal security tip. So this week's tip is on how to protect your own accounts so you can decrease your exposure to attacks. This one tip to improve your username and password practices, and it involves several steps to take on a regular basis. So a lot of personal information is kept in online accounts and is accessible if somebody has your login and password, including email, bank account, and other personal data. Changing your password is a necessary first step when your information is exposed in a data breach. Change your passwords and add two-factor authentication to your accounts. And here are some tips to consider when creating a new password. Make sure the password is at least, some say 12 characters long. I'd go for 15. It's exponentially harder to hack at 15 characters and greater. So I would up that. Many recommend 12 or more. I recommend 15 or more. Don't use the same password for multiple accounts. Set up multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication requirements. Choose a password manager like LastPass, or I use 1Password to help keep track of all these passwords, so you don't use the same password for everything. Pick a security question that only you know the answer to, not something that could be included in a breach like your maiden name or mother's maiden name or anything like that. Now, how do you keep track of all these passwords? You use a password manager program, as I mentioned. My favorite free one is called KeePass XC, as in X-ray Charlie, but it does not work on mobile. So I use 1Password, which lets me sync and access all my passwords on Mac, Windows, iPhone, but it works on Android as well. And it costs $3 a month for one person, $5 a month for up to 5 people. And there are some business options as well. I absolutely love it, and it syncs everything seamlessly, makes it easier again on mobile, computer. I have the Windows here I record on. I use a Mac laptop most of the day, and I can have these passwords synchronized through all of them. It's fantastic. All right, in this week's digital deep dive, we're going to talk about what is the AT&T breach, this massive breach that's all over the news. What is it? AT&T disclosed a massive data breach exposing call and text records from tens of millions of customers from mid to late 2022, including details like numbers contacted and call durations. The breach was linked to unauthorized access to AT&T's workspace on a third-party cloud platform known as Snowflake. Should be familiar with you guys by now, and it's under investigation by the company and law enforcement. Now, why would somebody do this? Attackers likely targeted the data for several reasons, including the ability to gather valuable metadata about communication patterns, which could be used for social engineering, espionage, or even identity theft. So by analyzing call and text records, they could identify connections between individuals, potentially exploiting relationships for malicious purposes or selling the information on the dark web. Now, how did the attackers gain this information? So the attackers gained access by exploiting an illegal download from AT&T's workspace on the third-party cloud platform, Snowflake. While the exact method of entry was not disclosed, it suggests potential vulnerabilities or misconfigurations in how the cloud service was managed or accessed. The AT&T breach likely involves several tactics and techniques from the MITRE attack framework, including initial access, T1078, that's valid accounts, where they would exploit third-party access to gain entry into the system. Credential access, that's T1081, or unsecured credentials in files, so they're potentially obtaining credentials to access cloud services. It includes MITRE attack. Exploitation for client execution, that's T1203. Exploitation for client execution, that's utilizing vulnerabilities in cloud applications or services to execute unauthorized actions. Data exfiltration, that's T1041, exfiltration over a C2 channel, which is short for command and control, where they command all these zombie infected machines to do their bidding for them. So it's illegally downloading sensitive data from the cloud environment. And we also have account manipulation, that's T1098, which is manipulating access rights or configurations to maintain unauthorized access. These techniques highlight the various phases of the attack life cycle that could have been involved in this incident. To mitigate or prevent this type of attack, it could be prevented through several measures. So one is stronger access controls, implementing strict access controls and permissions to limit who can access sensitive data within cloud platforms. Also, another measure would be regular security audits. So conducting regular audits and vulnerability assessments to identify and remediate potential weaknesses in those cloud configurations. Another measure would be using MFA or multi-factor authentication, enforcing MFA for accessing sensitive systems to add an extra layer of security against unauthorized access. Another measure is data encryption. So encrypting sensitive data both at rest and in transit to protect it even if unauthorized access occurs, then incident response plans, having a robust incident response plan in place to quickly address and mitigate any breaches that occur. Employee training is another measure, then providing that ongoing training for employees on security best practices and recognizing phishing attempts or suspicious activities. Another measure would be monitoring and alerts, of course, implementing continuous monitoring and alerting for unusual access patterns or activities within the cloud environment. So in this week's Explain This, what is a zero-day attack? A zero-day attack exploits an unknown software or hardware vulnerability that has no available patch at the time it's announced, so making it extremely dangerous. It's called zero-day because the developers have had 0 days to fix the vulnerability before it could be exploited. So mitigating such attacks involves using IDS or intrusion detection systems, regular patch management, and leveraging threat intelligence. Now, the regular patch management, of course, is dependent on them having a patch, and then it's not a 0 day, but that's just a general good practice to help prevent these sort of things, because often a patch will come out, and if you still haven't patched for it, of course, you're leaving yourself wide open. So in contrast, often the maker of the hardware or software discovers the vulnerability first and releases a patch before it's exploited. In the 0 day it's been exploited, it's determined as a vulnerability, and there's been 0 days for the developers to patch it. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about that or anything else we discussed today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments in general. I hope this helped at least one person out there. I'll see you next time, and stay safe out there.